Hello, Kelsey. Welcome to the Make Life Rich movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
So, I'll be honest, the Instagram gods brought me to you.
I was
I,
wondering.
yeah, uh, I fell upon your page, and what caught me first, I think it was like day number 2 countdown or something, and I saw the graphic of the countdown caught my eye. I looked at it, and then reading the word Hattie's Toyland. And I was like, oh God, we need more toy stores. Like, this is going to be cute. And I click on it. And then I discovered your story. And that sealed the deal for me. I was like, okay, I pray they'll speak with me because this is such a beautiful story. It needs to be shared. And it's just really inspiring what you've been able to do with such a very difficult thing that happened to you and to your family. And I just hope that this episode today just brings everyone listening a little bit of inspiration and, thoughts on what to do when tragedy does just hit unexpectedly. I would love for you to kind of walk us through your, well, trigger warning, guys. We do have the loss of an infant. Your daughter was discovered to be a stillborn several months into your pregnancy. Would you mind taking us briefly through that really difficult time for you?
Yeah. Um, so my husband and I had always wanted 4 children, and we were doing some ministry work in Virginia. So excited to come back home to Alabama and raise our children. We were raised here, excited to be near family again. Pregnant with a fourth baby, a baby girl, and everything just felt right. I feel like we were naive to the pain of loss and infertility. Prior to this point, I'd always had healthy pregnancies. I'm a healthy person, never struggled with infertility. And so kind of just living in a, just, so excited, everything's going to work out. And so actually came home, and our first week home, I was so excited because the doctor who delivered my daughter was going to deliver this baby as well. And so went to established care the first week we were back and found out there was no heartbeat. And truly, I actually went to the appointment alone. That's how confident I was in these things. And so I'll never forget just that trap door falling underneath me, realizing that this full-size baby in me, I was going to have to deliver her stillborn. And so my body wasn't going into labor. They call it a missed miscarriage. And ultimately, I needed a scheduled day to deliver her a few days later. And so called my husband, and just remember feeling just, in a state of shock. And so fast forward, didn't really know what to do for those few days. It was this weird mix of, do we believe for a miracle that this isn't really real, or, is this our reality? And then we have children to walk through this grief, and you are never prepared for that. And so it was so hard. We ended up, thank God, people surrounded us, and they're like, we'll pray, for a miracle, or we'll just sit with you if you're just okay to accept this. Like, we're here. People even just like bringing meals. And I remember we got to the hospital, and someone we worked with in Virginia, their sister actually worked at the hospital. And so when we got in our room, there was a basket just of like fruit from Trader Joe's, and it had just a little card on it. And it was like, when we have no words, like, we believe God sees our tears. And anyways, it was weird going in to have a child that is not going to make it, is something you can't prepare for. I will say that in the hardest moments of that day, we did feel a supernatural peace. It was just a heavenly, I can't describe it. Like, I thought it would be, it was hard, and it was so sad, but it was also like so much peace.
Yeah.
It was a feeling I've never felt delivering a child, and we believe like that was a day heaven met earth for us, and that's the closest we've ever felt, to something so heavenly. And so after that, we get home, my body's needing to heal from postpartum, and then also like, your body's trying to thinks you've had a baby. It's just so weird. And so those coming home, that was the worst, because that's when it's like, oh, this is real. And then that week is when COVID hit. And so it's like, oh my God, we have to actually literally sit in our house and sit with this. And so it was a blessing and a curse. I think my husband and I maybe wouldn't have processed our grief the way we were able to because of that. And so that felt like a blessing, just to literally sit and have permission to sit in it, and not have to run from it, not have to immediately go back to work, not have to immediately send the kids to school and just keep doing the normal day to day, but just to sit and to figure things out, a day at a time. And so that's definitely what we did in 2020.
My goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure it is the roughest thing you've ever gone through. I am so thankful that you had returned home to have this community around you that knew you so well and was ready to be your army and step up. It just kind of blows my mind that we're always given the things that we need in the time that we need. And for you to have also been home during COVID and not in a foreign place, not around people that could say, hey, I'm coming to pick the kids up. You guys take the day to yourselves. Like we're going to go take them to play or go somewhere. I'm so thankful that happened for you. And you're absolutely right. You wouldn't have had their permission just to sit. Sadly, our country is not one that honors maternity leave to the fullest extent we should, let alone bereavement, especially from mothers who have recently lost their children. So I'm personally thankful that you had that time. And it seems like in the beauty of the world shutting down when your world was completely stopped, I wonder if that felt like an omen to you to really just lean into this healing and finding, what was next for your family.
Yeah, it definitely felt timely. And I think for me, I'm someone who doesn't like to miss out on things. And so I wasn't missing out. That was a kindness in it. There were definitely days where like I could not get out of bed and didn't want to get out of bed, and I didn't have to. And so I'm thankful for that. It definitely taught me that, when you go through hard things, you have to deal with them. They will come up, and, they come up in different ways. And it was amazing to me, the things that I had not processed, that when everything was cracked open, those things were at the surface as well. And so it's a gift for us to look back and see that, our daughter like taught us so much. And just like God, she taught us just to heal and to take time for ourselves. And we wouldn't have done that had it not been for her. And so that feels like, part of her legacy. And that's something we've been able to walk our other kids through. And it forced us to deal with some things we've never dealt with from childhood, from just life. Things happen. No one is immune, to hard things. And so, it was the greatest pain. It was also the greatest gift, because it allowed us to get, so much healing we needed from other things. So,
wow. I understand to a degree. I have never been pregnant or lost a child, but when my father passed away, it was intense, the amount of learning that almost comes to you immediately in a download, and then you're just like, okay, I got to process this. Like, what's happening? And I have heard through many others that have gone through a period of grief that there's a moment where your suffering starts to open up to avenues of creativity if you'll allow it, if you'll allow yourself to lean in. And I wonder if that was where the idea for Hattie's Toyland came about. Could you talk to us a little bit about where the moments of sunshine started to peek in and this idea started to become more than a little bit of a thought?
Yeah. So during that, during 2020, 2021, somewhere in that time, I had a dream and I was like, oh, or maybe it's an idea, like, I think we should do a toy store in her honor. That'd be so fun. I had a sister that worked in the toy store industry and she just loved it so much. And just started realizing like, oh my God, there's not one in our town. Like we have to drive 30 minutes to that. And our town is built with, young families and no little toy store. And our town also is big on like supporting local, and they don't have a place to support local when it comes to like family friendly children stores. And so thought it was just an idea. Also knew like, holy moly, I have so much work to do. I was not in the mental capacity to handle such a thing, but it was a fun idea. I have lots of fun ideas. So, just kind of journaled it, tucked it away, and continued my work. Some days were great days and some days were hard. And for me, I'm normally I'm a glass half full kind of person. And so having to sit, in a situation where the glass wasn't half full was hard for me and uncomfortable. And so I feel like I was constantly trying to look when I could for something for my sake, for my children's sake, because life's still going on, for something fun, and that just seemed fun. So fast forward, and a couple of years later, here we are. We've done so much work, and I was actually talking to my counselor last week about what you were talking about, where there's this part of grief where you can get creative. And she actually said the person who, they say there's 5 stages of grief. And she said there's actually a study being done that there's a 6th. And they were doing, like, the person who was studying it actually, like, passed away, and someone's now gotten permission to take over their work because they do believe there's a 6th. And I have it written down. I'll have to look, but basically it's just where like you're going to make something out of it. It's applying it. And I can see that. It's like, I thought I had done them, and then it's like, no, like I didn't go through that for nothing. And, so anyway, super excited. Of all people, the guy who owns our little downtown area reached out to one of my friends who owns a business and said, hey, we need a toy store down here. Do you know of anybody who'd want to run a toy store? And she was like, shut up. Like, the only person I've ever heard talk about that was my best friend, but that was, a couple years ago. Let me call her and see if they're interested. And at the same time, my husband and I had some conversations like, what are we going to do? Like, what is our impact? What are we leaving behind for our kids? What's our legacy? What do we, and so the same time we were wrestling with that, this opportunity came, and the door just opened. And so that was in November, and here we are. We're set to open in April. So build out's taking place, and the community's excited. Everyone is so kind and seems very supportive, and I'm personally excited for many reasons, but ultimately I feel like because we were new in the community and like everybody knew, holy shit, they got here and lost a child. That's kind of what we were known for. And I'm so excited for people to see this side of our story because it's not just sad. Hattie's not just sad. I don't want her to have a sad, like that just be attached to her. She's so much more than something that was hard for us. And so I'm excited. For us, she was discovering, like, she taught us to discover things that we needed to about ourselves. And I'm so excited to have a place that honors her in a fun way. while also resourcing families to walk through hard things and just be in a place of like honest community and conversation. I feel like because people did know my husband and I went through that, and we're huge advocates for mental health and people getting help and owning their stuff. And I feel like people come to us a lot for things like that. And so I feel like it'll just be a space where, you know, people come in, they won't be scared to have that conversation about, you know, infertility or losing a child, how to walk children through grief, you know, even just mindfulness things. Like, I'm excited to resource parents specifically to raise emotionally healthy children. So.
Man, I am so enamored with everything you just said. I'm a crier, so I apologize. I've been literally sobbing the whole time we've been talking, but I cannot, I'm overwhelmed with the beauty and the grace that you personally have been able to establish during this time. I think it feels like a revelation of sorts that you came into a space where people knew who you were but didn't know you intimately in that way. As you'd said, you and your husband have been gone, you come back, they immediately fall in with you, and now you're able to give a community space back for children to be able to come and just like give back all the love that you got when you first got there. Like, the full circle moments are so endless in this conversation, and it just feels so divinely meant to have been exactly how it was. Although that leaves you with one daughter in heaven that you'll meet eventually. I think the thing that I found so beautiful in your Kickstarter was that you wanted to establish a place where, I'm paraphrasing, but you know, she'd always be innocent and free and, you know, able to just be the light that she was. And even though that light didn't get to exist in the manner that you would have wanted it to, I hope you can see how much it's already touching people.
So sweet.
And it hasn't even opened yet. It's really beautiful. It really is beautiful. I would love to know, was there a moment where your children were able to kind of transform their sadness and rally behind this idea of the store? Did it become something that was a bit of a tool for them as well to kind of transition their feelings and keep kind of her spirit alive, but not have it be so full of grief?
Yeah. Kids are amazing, and their brains are amazing, and they heal when we heal. I remember I went to a place in Tennessee called Onsite, and I was at the worst place of my life, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't even walk myself through this. I don't even, like, I'm meeting my children's basic needs. I can't even meet their emotional needs, and are they going to be messed up from this, you know? And I remember a therapist there saying, there literally is a study where when the people in your house sleep, like, there's brain waves that sync. And so it's a really neat study, but it is true to the statement that when you heal and your brain waves are healing, literally while they're sleeping, their brain waves are healing. And so I feel like we saw that. Like, and our kids were young when this happened. Yeah. And so the oldest would have been in second grade, which she was 8. She is the one that had the hardest time with it. And now she's in middle school. She's 11. But we never shied away from it. We always were honest. We unfortunately had to be honest that, like, not only did we lose Hattie, the following fall we tried again and had a miscarriage at 17 weeks and had to tell them again. And it was just like, what is happening? And so I feel like they got familiar with it, but also, like, we just welcomed the conversation. And I'll never forget when my son came home, when I came home from the hospital. He was literally 4 years old. And I'm like, what are kids going to know? You know, what are they going to know? This is our first rodeo doing this. And he said, hey, Mom, you know, Hattie's not in your belly anymore. And I said, no, she's not. And he said, yeah, no. He's like, she is running in a field of flowers and they're all your favorite colors. And like that was like, oh my God, where did he get that? And that, I held on to that. And so when I think of her, that is what I think of. I think of a wild little girl that favors my other children, like running through flowers and whimsy and fun and all things children should be. And so that's the spirit I hope to keep alive in this store. And I feel like, some days when we were very sad, our children weren't, and I didn't understand it. And there were moments where they were sad, where we just, I actually have a note on my phone where they just randomly say things, It became a thing that when we saw rainbows, we thought of Hattie, or look, oh my gosh, Hattie sent us a rainbow. Just finding ways to look for heaven around us became a routine thing, and they did a great job of that, better than us. And so I feel like for them, I mean, we have cupcakes on her birthday. We do things to keep her alive. Like if their teacher asks, if they're sharing something about, how many siblings do you have in class? They're always going to include Hattie and not hesitate to share her story. It doesn't even fit. I mean, it's like, that's their story. That's their sister. And they know they'll see her one day. And every now and then they'll say things like, oh, I can't wait to see her, or things like that. And we can't either. And so I feel like we honor her every opportunity we get to. And we talk about her. That's normal. She's a part of our family. We talk about her like we would talk about anyone. And it was the hardest for me walking the youngest through it, because she was so young and she just wanted to be a big sister so bad. And it was so hard. But now she gets to. We did end up having a little girl, and they're all enamored with her. But they do not forget Hattie. And Hattie's very much, a part of our everyday life. And the kids have done an incredible job keeping her legacy alive. They know it's Hattie's Toyland. They're excited for people to come. They're so excited about a toy store, obviously. What kid doesn't want that? But it's been so sweet just seeing, her name in their mouths in conversations. And anyway, I feel like, yeah, I've seen them grow. I feel like the oldest definitely struggled with it the most, but she was on that journey of healing with us, and still is. And yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. In the photo that you posted to announce at the top of January that you were opening a store, it was so beautiful to watch your family storm into the building and just jump around and be so excited that, like, you're starting to enter a facility, like you're in a building that will eventually be the toy store. What was that moment? What did that feel like for you and for your children, I'm assuming, as well?
Mm-hmm. It just feels fun. It feels right. It feels peaceful. I mean, there's things about it that, with business is kind of stressful, but we just believe in it so much, and our kids believe in it so much, and they're excited to have story time and things like that. And I think if anything, they'll want to be there too much. We're gonna have to figure out a good little schedule. But just going in and, like, even looking back at that video and just like seeing us go in there, seeing the joy and everyone jump in, and like walking around that day and telling the kids, this is where this will be and this is where this will be. It just feels right. So
you can see you're physically and spiritually entering into a new chapter. Mm-hmm. And to have her with you through that still is really beautiful, because a lot of people don't necessarily get the physical opportunity to continue something actual for a memorial for someone that they so deeply love. So it's just, your story is amazing. I know the store is going to be so successful. I'm just so thankful for you to share this with everyone, because I think it's very easy to allow something so painful and so tragic to really ground you in a way that might not be the best. And it's really beautiful for you and your family to be a living testament in a way to what can happen when you get to the other side of that pain, and you really allow that pain to kind of wash over you and heal you in ways that you probably didn't want at the time, but surrendered to. And now it's kind of birthed this really beautiful new story and new beginning for you, which, I think a lot of people are going to glean a lot of fortitude from it. The whole act of it itself can be applied to anyone in any real capacity, but for you and your family to not have given up just speaks a lot to the love that you have and the foundation that Hattie's Toyland is going to be built off of.
Yeah.
That space looks huge. Can you just give us a little rundown of how you think you're going to lay it out? What's going to be included? Are there going to be activity areas? It's going to be a big toy store.
Yeah, it's 2,200 square feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's going to be, a little back office space and storage. The whole surrounding, it's like a corner store, and so it's all windows. And honestly, we were actually supposed to be in a different building, and at the last minute, the guy was like, "What about the corner building?" And we were like, "Oh, that one's probably like way too expensive," and didn't even think it was an option on the table. And he's like, "No, it's not that, much different square footage wise." And so, ran the numbers and we're like, oh my gosh, well, we definitely want to be on the corner, with people able to see in, and we're going to have like cloud light fixtures from the ceiling, and that can like stay lit up at night so people can look in and see the little lights. I just think it's going to be a little magical place, our little piece of heaven in the community to make a difference. We and like some classic, like vintage candy and just sweet little things like that. We have, we always go to a place when we're at the beach called Ducky's, and it has brought our family so much joy. It's kind of like we're going to Ducky's, we're getting a souvenir. We're always doing that. And every time I go in there, I've always felt at peace and like a little kid. I feel like when you go into an environment with these sweet little things, you can't help but go back to the kid inside of you. And so I'm excited for people to feel that. Even I was telling my friend, I'm like, I feel like I'm healing my inner child. Like every time I'm picking out a toy, I feel like, little Kelsee is thriving and so proud. And, I had forgotten who she was and what she needed. And so I feel like in the work we've done the past couple years, I had to go back to that, and thank God I did, because I feel like because of life and so many other things, I had, kind of lost my voice in a way. Very much came like, go with the flow, just don't cause any ruck, just like keep quiet. And, anyways, it was great to go back and do the work and find my voice and find who I was before life or tragedy touched me, to go back to the innocence of who I was as a little girl, and fight for that and get back to that. And so in doing that, I feel like I found my confidence again. In doing that, I did work on finding my voice, and with Hattie not being here, I am her voice. And so this puts me in a situation every day that challenges me, where I have to be her voice and I have to use my voice. And so it's good for me to be challenged in this, because like I will defend her, I will protect the store, I want things done a certain way. All in, anyway, it's been a challenge and it's been a blessing, and I'm so excited to see, the fruit of all of it, and to see what happens. We interesting enough, in our lowest of our lows, don't know if you saw this little clip on our media, but so crazy. We were at this brewery eating, and my husband saw a guy he had seen 2 years prior at a church conference. And he's like, wait, that's the guy I never got to talk to that I felt like I was supposed to talk to 2 years ago.
Oh, weird.
And I'm like, what? And so he goes and talks to him, and the guy, tells the guy what he needs to tell him, whatever. It was a cool moment. The guy's like, I have something to tell you. And like, we've never met this guy or his family. And he's like, where's your wife? Whatever. I come over. And he said, you have 3 children on earth and 3 children in heaven. And there's a child on its way to you with all the giftings of all your children combined. And like, it's time like for you to hold on to some promises that God's given for you. And disappointments tried to write your story, but like, we're done. It's done. And even prayed over like trauma in my body and trauma in my womb due to COVID. We think that had something to do with it. I had COVID right before I lost Addie, so she passed of a blood clot, actually. And so, like, just like, he literally told us all that right there in the middle of the brewery, and just said, like, there's goodness ahead for your family that you've got to hold on to. And God, in that moment, we all of a sudden, it's like we could raise our head again. And like, it spoke some kind of hope and gave us some hope to hold on to. And that was in October of 2021. We took the holidays off from trying to get pregnant or anything like that in the infertility world. And in January, I went to the doctor, and I finally had the courage to try again after all the losses. And they're like, oh, your tubes are blocked. And I was like, what? Okay, it is what it is. And they're like, come back in, next month, whatever. So fast forward, went back February 15th and found out I was pregnant.
Woo!
The month that I did not have medicine and my tubes were blocked, literally physically blocked.
Wow.
And that's the month I got pregnant with our daughter, Lydia. And when I went in on February 15th, 2022, they're like, do you know on February 15th, 2021, you were in here confirming a loss? It's like, what the crap? And I mean, even down to like, she was born October 7th, 2022, October 7th, 2020, I was in the hospital with COVID, and had a loss in the same hospital. Like, there's just so many little details. I think details, they're important and we forget about them, but they matter. And, hard things always are trying to take us out and in different ways, but it's always okay to hope. And I feel like, if it's not good, it's not done. I don't think, God or whatever anyone's higher power is, like, are going to leave them in a bad place. I have seen his faithfulness, all over my life, in so many areas that, even in 2020, when I feel like I cursed the Lord and was like, how, why would you put me in this situation? And, I tell everyone that's when I met the Lord. Like, that's when I really got to know his love, because he could handle that. And, that's when he felt closest to me. And so, yeah, I don't know. I know that was a lot, but,
No, it's amazing. We get deep on this podcast. Don't you stop. Don't you stop.
That place where that was spoken over our family, those promises, it's right outside the toy store. And so we're going to get to look at that place every day and remember, like, that's where that's where his goodness was spoken over us. And we can encourage others, from that same place. And, it's definitely full circle, because there were days I didn't know if I would be able to, and there were days even, I mean, my husband has his own story and his own walk of grief. And, I truly thought like I was going to lose him. He struggled with, suicide and things like that. And, anyway, and like, we didn't even want to be married. Like, we were just like, we have so much crap going on and so much things we're facing. And, a relationship takes so much effort, being a mom and dad takes so much effort. It was so heavy, but, so kind to look back now and, the work was worth it. The work is always worth it for yourself. If I could encourage anybody, like, take a step towards getting help for things you need to. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you if you go to counseling, or things like that. I feel like sometimes things happen to us that we invited in, and some things weren't invited in, and, it's just good to peel back the layers and figure out, who is at the root of us and make sure that person's healthy. So we don't, so everything else doesn't get to speak for us. I feel like when hard things happen, you can stay bitter, you can stay angry. And I feel like there are days and there are time for that. And I had every right to be angry. I feel like, like I could have walked away from my faith. I could have walked away from my family. And I don't think anybody would have blamed me. But like, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to do that. I knew, like, God, it can't end like this. It just can't. I can't accept this as an answer. I can deal with this situation, but I didn't want to be a bitter person. And because then that overflows into every area of your life, and it's like, no, I'll get better. And so some days were hard and some days were light, and they still are, work in progress every day. I'm still in counseling. I have a counseling appointment this afternoon. My husband and I went to marriage counseling yesterday. I feel like we're always a work in progress, but we're moving forward. And some days, I feel like there was a season where it was okay to not move forward, and we had permission for that. But just don't stay there is what I would encourage people, because there is more on the other side of your story.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I've noticed I tend to gravitate towards people that are in grieving in one way or another, and I never really know it until we get to talking, and then I'm like, aha, that's what I see in you, that we are connected on here. And I'll be honest, there's a really, I think our generation grew up with the expectation for men of how they're supposed to behave emotionally. And I don't think what was passed on to them as the way they're supposed to behave ever included the very traumatic, upsetting, and heartbreaking, earth-shattering moments of losing a child, divorce. Like these very oh, nope, this is a new book now once this is done. And I'm so careful to acknowledge that men have not been given, at least for our last 30, 35 years of us all being around, the autonomy to handle their emotions in their own way that feels authentic to them without them being labeled weak, whatever.
Right.
It feels really good for us to be in like a timeline and a space to where now these conversations are being taken on by, men we all assumed to be very masculine in their presentation. I think it's really beautiful that there is this trend towards men not only being allowed to have these feelings, but being allowed to show them without being judged. And I just thank you for sharing your portion of your husband's grief and how it was for him, because men for too long have been forced to exist and live in silence, and their pain is equally as deep as ours, oftentimes deeper, because they haven't been given the emotional toolkit to kind of deal with and process these things with a spouse. And it does seem like, thank God we are in a place to where men are being more receptive to care, and they are receiving more of that support from their partners, because we are being awakened to the idea that, the little boy in them never got to heal because the little boy in them had to be a man immediately for no reason. No reason. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that. I hope if anyone's listening and a man in your life is having a hard time, it may feel foreign to ask them how they're feeling because they may rub you off, but keep asking.
Yes.
Keep asking.
Oh, yeah. I feel like definitely generationally, it's he needed to be strong. And I think even in our situation, people would think, I'm the one that had the baby. They're so big on that, my body's the one that went through it, which yes, that is true. And I had to deal with different things than him, but it was still his daughter. Yes. And he knew that. He still held her. He still had to give her away like, I did. He had to comfort me. I mean, yes. He had to physically take care of me. He was the one that when we're sitting in the middle of the dinner, I could look at him and I could run in another room and he's going to catch me if I'm bawling my eyes out, and he would just hold me. And that has to be hard. That has to be a hard job. And Taylor has always been an advocate for mental health. He had some things he needed to work out from his own childhood and biological father and things like that he needed. And so he's been in counseling, but thank God he didn't hesitate to jump back in when all this affected us. He also went to on-site. At first he's like, oh, you just go, you go. And then when I came home and he realized what it did for me, I remember him saying, oh, I'll go in the next year, and then I came home and he's like, I'm going next month. And he went, and just, it's been incredible. I'm so thankful to lead a family. And we have one son, we have a house full of girls, but we have a son, and we're trying to do things differently. And our son is more emotional than all of our girls. And like being okay with that. Like, he doesn't have to toughen up. Like, he can still be a great husband and a great dad one day by not toughening up, like it's,
100%.
So I'm so grateful Nolan has that example in his dad. And Taylor's, he's a great advocate for men getting the help they need. And he actually, out of losing our daughter, started a nonprofit. So if you're listening and you have a man in your life that might need some help, I would encourage them to follow Taylor on social media or reach out to him. He's always open to a conversation.
Beautiful.
And he's helped so many people get started on their mental health journeys. He founded something called Revive Outdoors. So for him, he retreated to the outdoors for a place of processing. And that's where he says, like, I cried, I screamed, I sat, and he worked through things that way. And he had a great counselor and has used some great resources over the past few years to get to where he needs to be. And now he is very passionate about helping men get the help they need. So, yeah.
My goodness. Whew, you guys are so inspirational. It's hard to say this, maybe hard for someone to hear that hasn't been in a place to where you've been able to get to a spot in your grief where you can see the purpose of it all. The purpose, if you're not in a right place, the purpose can feel like you're dismissing the person, their life, your love for them. But eventually that love starts to take a new shape. And it seems like, I'll try not to get too emotional as I say this, that Hattie rebirthed both of you.
Yeah.
Into healthier versions of yourself that would take your family the extra distance so that you could impact your town and everyone you come in contact with in this way. It's so just touching and beautiful of a situation that could have ended your entire family, and instead your husband is now going on to help other men to hopefully shine light on their growth and all of that. We'll absolutely include everything for him in the show notes, guys. Please check that out. I feel like this interview has gone in such a beautiful direction, but I want to make sure we talk about the toy store because, guys, it's going to be beautiful. The space is huge. Your logo and your branding are stunning. The woman that did that for you really nailed it.
She is
so perfect.
Amazing.
I'm sorry, 1 second.
There.
Sophie, it's okay. It's just the trash truck. It's okay. Good girl. Shh, 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 shh. That's enough. You'll get a cookie if you be quiet. Oh. Okay, thank you. Good girl. Sorry, she's like staring at me like, give me a cookie or I'll bark. Sophie, it's okay, sweetie, all right? Shh, shh, shh. We're almost done. You're being such a good girl. Thank you. Okay, so your logo is beautiful. Did that really start to make things feel like they were coming into fruition?
Yeah, I reached out to a few people and ultimately just felt really drawn to a girl named Cara out of California. And she was just so kind. And she was like, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to honor your daughter. And gosh, she cared about every little detail. even down to the fact in our logo, it looks hand drawn. So it's like hand drawn. So it shows like imperfections, and, you know, we welcome that. And we wanted a little star for Hattie. And so she put that in like the I or the apostrophe. Anyway, just, she's incredible. I wanted to do a little bit different look, not like primary colors, but also wanted to reach, you know, boys and girls. And so picked a fun color palette, and she truly made me do some work on the front end to get, you know, get to that, like, what do we want this brand to be? You know, truly asking the right questions and the hard questions. And so I feel like the store will be proof of that work. And she did a great job. Thank you.
You can tell you put a lot of time and attention into it, because it is so, she did an amazing job. It's so inviting and casual, yet is very evocative of what a child would draw, or what it would, you know, kind of resemble, but very polished. It's not going to be difficult to tell it's for a toy store the second that you read it and see it.
Yeah.
I also saw recently that were you at a toy convention?
We went to Market in Dallas. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was so fun. It was so overwhelming, but so glad we went. Got so many great products. There's so many neat lines of toys, and just getting familiar with that world, and making sure we have everything we need. The shipping and all the details behind that stuff really blew my mind. Like, there's some stuff we ordered that's not even shipping till September, you know? So it's like, really have to be on your game for that. But we got some great things. Looking forward to, you know, stocking the store with those goodies. But
man, I wonder if during this buying did you take your children to Market?
No.
I was going to say that'd be like the grocery store on
oh my gosh,
steroids.
No. Yeah.
You'd be like, no,
absolutely not. They would have wanted everything. No.
Oh my gosh.
No, just my husband and I went, so
lovely. I'm sure there have been a ton of learning curves here, but has there been one particular learning curve in becoming a business owner that you feel like you were a little worried about at first, and now you've grown through it and you're like, that's old hat. Like, we can take on anything that comes our way, because, you know, we can figure it out.
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like every day it's, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it's it's a confidence thing. Like, people they see me as an owner of this store now. And so, just asking me questions, and like me just having to operate out of this confidence, like, okay, this is what I'm called to, And so I feel like, it's stretching me every day, and, also challenging me to grow. I feel like I want to know, what the people want, what they're expecting in the store. I want to be on my game, and be confident, so I can be confident in the products we're delivering that are quality, that, their needs are met. Ultimately, it's an interesting dynamic, because our market, it's like children. So just imagining, a child coming in, what did they want to see? What, a family member, or mom or dad, what do they want to see? And so it's been interesting to see. I've been, taking polls and things like that, just trying to learn, what are people looking for when they come in a store, and what do they want to feel? I feel like I did so many studies. I love, Walt Disney World and things like that. And they're so intentional in the way they do things. And so in leading teams, I feel like I did a lot of study on that. And now it's like, oh, all that's coming back, what do people smell when they walk in a store? Just little details, I think, really make a difference. And so I'm trying to do my part in studying up, and making sure we're creating the right environment.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be perfect. What does it feel like to now be a family-owned business in your downtown area of where you live?
Yeah, it's exciting. I feel like it's going to help us get to know our community more. I'm so excited. I have a heart for parents and moms, and I feel like this is going to be a great opportunity that, you know, for those I haven't met, I'll be able to meet and establish relationships with them, and just to get familiar with the community and know people when we go. You know, I feel like we kind of know people, but it'll be good to get to know them more relationally and get familiar with their children's name, and ultimately make a difference in their families' lives. So we're excited for that. You know, we love to hang out down in that area, and so many families do, and so it'll be so excited to be down there and just have a place where people can come in and have fun, and yeah, just pumped.
So cool. So cool. As we mentioned before, you have a Kickstarter.
Yes.
You have, is it 24 more days? So when this airs, you'll have 19 days still.
Right.
Guys, when you're listening to this, there's 19 days left in this Kickstarter. I'm going to include the link in the bio.
Yeah.
Give whatever you can. Make this dream come full fruition.
So sweet.
Now, with the Kickstarter, we all know if you're not used to it, if you don't meet your goal, you get none of it, okay? So this is really a push for everyone that you know to share this to them and just ask them to spare a few dollars. You don't need your Starbucks today. Put Starbucks towards
So sweet.
the greater goal of creating a community center for the life of a little girl that didn't get to meet her community, and now she's meeting them in a different way. This is
So sweet.
It's just such a we'll talk later, but we're going to send this link to some people. But what did that Kickstarter really represent for you when you started it? Was it, you know, kind of just like your push out to the world? Are you going to be able to get it done regardless of the Kickstarter? If you don't mind sharing, just to people, I think, don't really understand that if you don't meet the goal, you don't get the money.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of wonkiness there.
Yeah, I saw some people we knew do a Kickstarter that was successful for one of their businesses, and I thought, gosh, that's a really neat thing. Like, it's not your typical GoFundMe where people can just donate. Like, they can actually get something as a thank you in return, whether that is for us, you know, we have rewards such as like a little keychain that says Hattie's Toyland, or a fun shirt or hat. We also have like a children's book, like we can write a letter in, or handwritten letter. There's, you know, tiers of rewards, but if you do not raise your amount, you don't get any of it. And so there's a risk with that. I think that intrigued me. And honestly, fundraising's hard, and it's not fun. For me, I had to swallow my pride just to post it. And my husband is like, he's like, people like to give to something, you know, there's people that truly want to give, and like, this is an avenue that allows them to. And so I'm like, okay, I have to remember that. And I think for me, it's like, I don't want people to think we're getting a freebie, because this is a huge investment. And so for us, the Kickstarter alone is 15% of our investment cost for build out, inventory, everything from the ground up for this store. So our total is a little over $200,000 that we are having to invest for this. And then the Kickstarter is 15%. So it ends up being like $35,000. Obviously with the rewards, like, we have to pay for the shirts, we have to pay for the keychain, you know, all this kind of things. And so, there's that comes out of it. We'll end up getting, I think, 32% after the rewards are, you know, sent out, but we're grateful, you know, if you could donate $1, $5, every donation makes a difference. Even if you share it. I mean, there was someone that shared it the other day. I'm like, who is this person that donated? And they donated like $300. I don't even know them.
Wow.
And I still don't know. I do not know, but it's like, how kind. So, I love when people come together and good things happen. And I feel like this is, I just want people to see, you know, like, there's going to be so many good things happen here, and how special to play a part. Like, we'd be so grateful for you to do this with us. So
100%, guys, give, please. My final question that I saw of my guests is this: Kelsee, how do you make your life rich?
I actually looked at your page and saw that you asked this, and I've been thinking, it's such a beautiful question.
Thank you.
I feel like like I make my life rich by, oh, it's so hard. I feel like I make my life rich every day by getting up and choosing to share hope and light with the people around me. Whether it's someone at a gas station or it's my children. And I don't always get it right, but there's going to be a moment, like my kids there's going to be a moment where I'm intentional with them every single day. There's going to be a moment every day where I'm intentional with friendships or relationships or neighbors. I feel like I have to share hope with the world around me. Life is hard, and things are hard, and I feel like I have to make my life rich just by sharing hope, sharing the hope that I've experienced in my life.
Beautiful. Perfect answer. And it's the truth. And it's what I thought you were going to say. So I love that you said that. It's really beautiful.
You.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Your story and everything you have done because of it has made my life richer. I've been sobbing this whole time. I understand a fraction of the pain you feel. And for me, starting this podcast after my grieving journey and coming to a place where I'm like, wow, so many people are suffering in silence because no one is talking about their pain so that others feel free to share their pain. And it means a lot to me to have so many open-minded thought leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself come on here and just share, because we are all in this boat together.
Right.
And if we take it back to when we were all little, a little kid has no trouble telling you they're sad or they're angry or this happened. And I think along the way we're conditioned into burying these very real things, but they're the things that connect us the most. And the burying is where the disconnection happens. And it means a lot to have people on like you to shine a little bit of light onto what your life has been like. And I have no doubt this episode is absolutely going to help the exact right person in need that needed to hear it. So thank you so much for sharing, Kelsee. It was
Thank you.
my honor to share your story, and I cannot wait for opening day. I can't wait to be following along. It's gonna be
pumped.
beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I know there'll be sweet stories come out of it. There already have been. I had someone donate in honor of a child that they lost, and it's like, this is me letting my child live on. And so it's so kind, so sweet. What a beautiful platform you've created. Thank you for this space, for this conversation. It's needed, and we need spaces like this. I remember on the darkest days of my life, because no one had spoke about things such as this, the first thing I did was get online and try to find who's lost a child, who can help me, who's gone through this, who can I call. I started ordering books and watching any video I could find on social media. So I believe that this podcast and your other podcast will land on ears that it needs to. And I thank you so much for this space.
Oh, thank you so much, friend. That means a lot. That's what was my goal in life, is to have this be my full-time gig. So I appreciate that.
I'm believing that with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelsee.
Thank you.